This is Luminary Zion, and I'm diabetic in Japan. This time I'd like to talk a little bit about how I was able to switch from fixed insulin therapy method. The initial amount that I was told, and this is on my log book, which is what they give to everyone in Japan. On the very top here, it says, in the morning, I get 6 units of Apidra. In the afternoon, I get 6 units of Apidra. And in the evening, I get 6 units of Apidra. The main point is that it was fixed. So no matter what I ate, that was what I was supposed to inject. And the logic was that I was supposed to adjust my meals so that that would be an appropriate amount of insulin. I went home and I started taking care of myself. I started cooking for myself, and I started realizing that at the time that was actually way too much insulin for my own personal dietary preferences. And in most cases. In some cases it wasn't enough if I wanted to go out to like McDonald's or something. And I was at home for 2 weeks before they asked me to come back to see my endocrinologist again. I suggested that I wanted to change to a meal-based insulin method. And he said, no, you can't do that. I presented some scenarios. For example, like I said earlier, say I want to go to McDonald's for breakfast one day, and they have a lot of really carby meals, so this is not going to be enough insulin. What do I do then? And he kind of rolls his eyes and sighs and says, well, I suppose if you eat significantly more or significantly less, then you can adjust your insulin by 1 or 2 units in either direction, more or less. I was really getting frustrated. I felt really angry that I wasn't in control of my own diet, and I couldn't just do what I wanted and then, adjust as necessary. I decided that I was going to make a case to my doctor, and I put together some photo examples of foods that I was eating that I wanted to eat where the insulin adjustment was not enough. I did some research and I figured out what I believed my insulin to carbohydrate ratios for each meal to be, and I came up with my own correction rate so that I could make a case for how I wanted to take care of my own diabetes. And I had all of these pictures, and I took all of this information, and I asked one of my Japanese friends to come to the doctor with me, just in case if there was some linguistic barrier or some problem that maybe having a Japanese person there would help to solve. So I showed the doctor. I went to my next hospital appointment, which was another 2 weeks. They had me going in every 2 weeks at that point. So at this point, I've been out of the hospital for a month. And I made my case, and I explained everything, and I really tried to impress upon him that I was feeling the restrictions, and I wanted more freedom for taking care of myself. And after I made my case and I explained all of these, showed him the pictures, showed him everything, he looked again at my book, my log book, and was reviewing the numbers and saying, yeah, well, which is the Japanese way of kind of being upset and disagreeing with something. And then he looked at my friend, and he tells my friend, he didn't say this to me, he told my friend that it's really against the rules, and, it's really dangerous to allow someone to decide their own prescription amount, and that it's something that could get him in trouble with the hospital. But given all of the information that I've shown him, he kind of thinks that I'm smart enough to handle it, and I'm really determined, so I guess we can go ahead and move forward with carb counting as the insulin method. That was how I was able to get off of the fixed insulin situation. I think I was lucky in this particular case. I don't know if he was lying or not about, it could get him in trouble with the hospital. I also find that if you're going to a university hospital type, then they're more willing to work with you and more flexible in terms of exploring new ideas. than if you're going to just a standard clinic or regular hospital type. What happened when I moved on? Because I did eventually actually end up changing hospitals. The previous doctor was just it was the nearby hospital. I was only getting maybe 5 minutes tops at an appointment, and I didn't ever get tested for any sort of complications. No one ever talked about A1C or things to be aware of or cautious of. And when I started asking questions, they continued to roll their eyes and be, really exasperated that I was taking so much of their time trying to learn about my disease. And so he actually recommended that I go to a university hospital. When I moved on to the next doctor, in all technicality, my previous doctor had been actually documenting me as fixed insulin therapy. I guess maybe he could get in trouble. I don't know. But he had not written anything in his records about carb counting and that I was determining my own insulin methods. So when I went to the new hospital, the doctor starts off from that and says, okay, so it looks here like you're doing 6 units per meal. And I said, no, actually, I just recently agreed with my doctor, kind of, playing it off or whatever, but I just recently agreed with my doctor that we're going to move to carb counting method, and I've been doing that for the past couple of weeks, and it's, here's how it looks in my logbook, and it's been working really well. And that's where the majority of people with diabetes coming to Japan will have the same kind of experience. When you already know what you're doing, when you have a system and when it's working for you, and you can just say it, just tell that system to the doctor, they'll smile and nod and say, oh, okay, let's just move with that then. They won't argue with you when you already have a system in place. So I really hope that that's something that's been helpful for you, and that if you are in a situation like what I was facing where you're being restricted about the type of insulin therapy you're allowed to perform, that you're able to use some of this information and take control of your life and take control of your health the way that you want to. So today's Japanese word is actually very, very similar to the English word, and that's the word for insulin. So in English, we just naturally say insulin. And the Japanese actually derives its version of the word from the English word, so it's very, very easy to remember. It just sounds a little bit different, but I'm also going to show you how it's spelled. It sounds like insulin, and it's spelled like that. So if you see this, then you know that this is talking about insulin. Insulin. If you have any questions, or if you would like to make some suggestions for the next thing that I can talk about, the next topic, please comment down below. I will see you next time. Bye!